copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Nora, are you going to lead us up? Okay. Welcome to the SAC meeting. This is our first conversation, what we call the committee conversation meeting, so there will not be any extensive presentations, as far as I know.
5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Of
Yes,
course.
sure.
You're going to spoil that. So, in any event, if you signed in, that would be appreciated. If you have a cell phone, if you would put it on silent mode, I would appreciate that, so that we don't get phone calls in the middle of our deliberations. Other than that, Norm is going to be facilitating our meeting. He has graciously agreed, and I will turn it over to Norm.
Okay, first we got a little 5-minute presentation. I did not get to do the lawn bowling last week, so let's just get through that. I'm assuming you guys can see it and read it. Next slide. It's been around since Egypt, so it isn't a new sport. Next one. It's even older than John. And it's a growing sport, which is probably a surprise to everybody sitting here. The year before COVID, 3,700 bowlers of Mountain View Greens. Thanks. Volunteers gave 120 lessons, 120 people lessons, 3 lessons each. Next. In the following year, we gave 100, and out of that, over 70% of the people joined lawn bowling. The club held 27 days of social events for bowlers. That means not bowling, other types of events, party type events. 6 days of novice tournaments, which is a tournament for brand new bowlers. They only have to compete with people at their level. 4 one-hour tournaments for new bowlers. Next. Oops, we're getting someone else in. 13 days of national and regional tournaments. Next. RCA had to approve those tournaments, and there were rental fees paid. Next. National and international tournaments give a unique publicizing for the benefits that we have here at Sun City for people who would not normally see it. All these activities were conducted even though, due to health concerns, many people had not yet returned to Sun City. A lot of them are really worried about it. And as I gave in another presentation, it's been the coldest, wettest winter in a long time. They are fulfilling the slogan of Make Sun City Active. They're not only active on the greens, they're active off the greens. Okay. That's it. Now we go to the next one.
Question?
No, oh.
Yeah, Norm, when I came here at Bass Lake, there was a single person on
There, yeah, all right. Let's go.
What, 122 you guys can pack it in?
Yeah, I know. Again, at 74, why wouldn't we be out there? I don't know why I'm not up in Prescott. Okay, welcome to a meeting. It's being conducted by members because there was a strong feeling that we needed to talk. And this is the reason that we're having this meeting. We have not had a chance to talk as a group together to see where we are and what we want to do. Okay, next. This task is not going to be easy or short. Next. Who's that? Who is that?
Sorry.
You haven't done that for any other presenter. I want to point out that our responsibility is to recommend the best option for Sun City. This will require us to be willing to compromise, perhaps accept less than we might want for the activities with which we participate. and accept ideas which we might not have strong, or we might have strong reservations about. This is a compromise situation. We all got to understand that. Purpose of the meeting: give committee members a chance to discuss the options for the PAC. Next. See if the committee members can narrow down the options that we have previously discussed for the last year and a half. Proposed procedure. These are subject to change. These are just mine, and we can change anything in here. It's not sacred. First thing I want to do is have a straw vote among the committee members to see if there is a consensus now, or if we can narrow it down from 5 options down to 1 or 2 or 3, so that we can start to focus on it. And any member here can, member of the committee can present pros and cons based on their choice, their favorite ones. Next. All members need to show respect for the other members, no matter how much you may disagree with their position. Because of limited time, directors are asked to limit their comments at this meeting to clarifying data. If we're mistaken on some data, then we need to be corrected. But other than that, we want to have a discussion between our own. At the end of the meeting, we'll have another straw vote after we've gone through some facts and see if it's changed or see where we are on it. Because right now, we don't know. We've all got our own opinions. The task is complicated. The big idea is the PAC site. But out of that comes all these others. The next one. Are we going to eliminate other activities? Are we going to restrict other activities? Are it going to be permanent or temporary? Planning and construction time. That's an important issue. How long is it going to take to get these things up and running? And because we're all on a limited horizon, and I've got a shorter horizon than most of you. Financial issues. Is the money available? Will it be coming in? How much is it going to cost to do all this stuff? And then, naturally, the other unknown issues. I've always told people, your solution is the next set of problems. Not really a solution. Now, in order to get ready for this, we've got some information here that we can refer to. These are all the parking spots for all the centers. They're highlighted in yellow. Next one. These are the acres and the building size, which is important because when you figure in parking and water retention, there isn't a whole lot left for the building and other stuff. So all of these are factors that we cannot ignore. Okay. And we have, just go through these quickly, we have overheads in case somebody wants to refresh what it looks like for the 5 centers that we've been talking about. I've got some numbers here that I pulled out of the attendance things because this made more sense to me than the way they did it for their accounting purposes. And we can refer to this next one. Next one.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. So those are the resources that we have if we need them. If somebody wants to look it up and say, well, how big was the site or whatever it is, we've got them and you can get them back whenever we want them, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I've had the suggestion that once we got done with this, that we could move into a more communicative thing instead of everybody facing this way, more of a square or something. I don't know what that does to your sound system or anything else.
It's not my sound system, so I don't know what it does.
Yeah.
I have a question. I see 3 gentlemen here in the Sun City shirts. I've not seen them here before. What are they representing?
They're doing the IT. They're doing all these screens.
These are IT guys.
Yeah.
We need 3 of them to do these things.
Well,
Yeah,
Kevin
as an
is
IT
Kevin is
person, I
gone,
understand.
Kevin's on vacation.
and David and I haven't done this before. Paul has, and Paul's going to be gone next week. So
Right.
somebody needs to be here
Russ.
to
Plan it
support
advance.
you.
Good job.
Cross training.
Anything else from the member? Any other suggestions about how to do things? Okay. So you want to just move these around, maybe in an L or something?
Yeah. Let's
You know,
move
that table come around.
that table. Stay here.
Nora, do you want to try to maybe do a triangle and just bring this table in?
Well, I think if we make an L, it'll be all right.
Where do you want?
We'll move this one to an angle too.
We just want to be able to see each other.
Face at each other?
There you
You
go.
never know who you are again.
Are you guys okay in that?
I think we are.
I think we're good here.
I want to go this way.
Bring that one in this way further. Here. Just shove that one in this way a little bit further so we're.
She wants to move
Right.
it over, she
Yeah.
wants to move it a little more.
Something like that? You don't need to be that close. Well, whatever y'all want.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
What is this again? That's not the microphone.
It's unfortunate, but this time of year is a very difficult time to meet and people come because they're all scared.
Hello?
Yes, Jane?
Are you guys noticing that Jean, hello, do you notice that Jean has got her hand up?
Yes,
No,
now we just rearranged the room. Okay.
Okay, can I just say, this week I do not have a small picture of the room. So can each person who talks identify themselves?
yep, we can do that.
Yeah, we did that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we've got 5 sites that we've been talking about. So let's just have a hand if somebody would add up the numbers for me. The problem is, you know, we had a committee of what, 26, 27 people?
Yeah.
And we're down to 9 or 10. Yeah. So, but that's, we gotta go with what we got. All right? So when they all come back, they may do things differently, but,
Well, they're not calling in, they're not checking in like this.
yeah. Well, yeah, we've got to get their votes too. Well, Steve's. Okay, so let's start with Sundial. Sundial as a place, a site for the theater. Right now, with what you've heard for the last 10 weeks or whatever, how many think that would be the best site for a theater? Raise your hand. 0. Lakeview. Same thing. How many think that would be the best site? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fine.
Five.
Steve is fine.
Steve.
Oh, Steve's got his hand.
Karen's too.
5. We got 2 screens. You're only getting 1 vote, Steve.
Norm, what'd you come up with?
3. 5. Mountain View. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What am I missing now?
Yeah.
Val. For a sake, is 0. And there should be 1 more.
Marinette. Marinette.
Was
Marinette.
that mentioned?
No, Marinette.
I don't think that was ever really on the.
No.
No.
Fairway, there's no.
How about the Sundial parking lot? Sun Bowl?
No, that wasn't ever mentioned for a theater site. That was mentioned for some other.
That was mentioned for something else.
Something someone put it out
Okay,
as
so
a
we
win.
got,
Well, we have 12 people, 12 votes. Is that how many people we got?
So everything else is 0 anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
That's somebody's green push.
So we're down to,
So it's Mountain View.
well, I didn't get Mountain View, did I?
Yeah, you did, right here. I just put MV.
Oh, okay. All right, so we got 7 for Mountain View, 5 for Lakeview, so I think that ought to be our points of concentration.
I think it is.
And this is a straw vote, and it doesn't mean we're committed to it, but right now, that's what you're telling us. Okay? All right, so it's open. People who favor the center that wasn't there, if they feel strongly, they can cite some facts as to, you know, how they're going to do the parking, how they're going to fit everything in there. If not, let's go with Lakeview. Who's in favor of Lakeview? You said 5 here. What are the advantages of that?
Ed Werderman, I think centrally located. Again, using the lake as a
Would somebody take down
So
some of
I
these?
have a chart set up on my laptop right now, so pros and cons for these 2 locations.
Right.
So I've just added separately located.
So I want to get this straight.
centrally located.
Centrally.
Centrally.
Oh,
Centrally
I
located.
heard separately, but
All right, let's take.
So I just want to get this straight. You're now my secretary. I can tell you what to do.
Yes, that's
Oh.
great. I've been waiting for
Here's your
this.
pencil.
But she's a bossy second.
Oh, okay.
Has more acreage available to use.
It is one of the bigger sites.
It's one
Yeah.
of the bigger sites.
Others?
And it has the flexibility because not only is the site larger in that, but we have more availability of room to decide how we want to set it up, what we'd like to do. The reason why I suggest it is because it is a separate location where we don't have to tear a building down in the presentation I made, so we could keep the theater open as long as they want until they demolish it at Mountain View. They could still run, and then it could easily be transferred to Lakeview, when Lakeview would be done. What also is nice is the fact that everyone seems to accept the lake as our wonderful place, which it really is, and you've talked highly about that yourself, but all of us know that it's really a great place to visit. It's a great place to relax in that. So my idea was to have it as the entertainment center because it's a different atmosphere than we have at other centers.
Okay.
I think there are several options as to where the theater could be placed on
Absolutely.
that property. I think we've talked about the round building closer to the lake, over where the tennis courts are, on the southeast corner where the trees are.
Southwest.
Or southwest, excuse me. But there's more opportunities as to where it could be placed, whereas Mountain View, because of all the athletic opportunities that would need to be there, it limits where the theater could be without distracting where everything else could be.
Bill?
Traffic patterns are, Lakeview is surrounded by 3 streets that all offer access with lights at some of the places too. And you can turn right and left out of each of the 3.
What's 3 streets you talking about? 103rd is one of the streets?
105th, Thunderbird, and Del Webb.
105th.
105th is what the
105th
the
is
street
right
at the
where the
light,
hospital
that
is.
goes directly to the dog.
The little circle,
Pardon?
the little circle.
Yeah, so,
No.
It's-
It actually goes into the
It
lake
goes
is
to
what
the
Karen's
core.
saying.
It goes all the way to the lake, 105th.
it has a light there.
Yes,
There's
it
a light
does.
there. If you drive in there and you make a left behind the
Okay.
bowling alley,
Yeah. Got it.
behind
It's
the
a
bowling
dead-end
alley,
street.
that's
It's
the
a-
access
it's
road
a
that
dead end,
comes
goes
in
right
just
into the
south of
lake.
That's the circle. Yeah.
Somebody keep an eye
The ramp
on,
into the lake.
the 2 Zoomers, because I don't see
Yeah.
their hands. So if they put their hands, let me know.
All right.
Well,
Okay, you
I
got
wanted,
more?
I wanted to follow up. Because of a separate building versus a Mountain View, the reason why I think it's a separate building, when you go to the theater, I envision that is a separate event that you're doing. You don't expect to meet people on your way coming out of pickleball and coming out of the swimming pool at Mountain View. So you're going to a theater, so your dress code is different. You're going for a specific event. It's a destination point. You're not expecting to see tennis people coming across or pickleball people or that. You're dressed up a little differently when you go to the theater.
Other
Right, so I think
Well,
that,
well,
There's a
well,
positive.
we're still on positive,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Bill?
Any other positives?
Yeah, I just think the Lakeview wind's better to just an entertainment type district and situation. I think a theater on a lake is, I mean, gosh, I would think there'd be people dying to have a theater on a lake. It also opens up the Mountain View as more of a sports center.
Exactly.
And so you could kind of have the Lakeview as kind of an entertainment type situation and the Mountain View more as a sports place. And like Russ said, you won't be, you know, I don't know that people want to be here, you know, everybody makes all this about the sound and noise of a pickleball. Why be listening to a pickleball while you're walking into a theater when you can have this real quiet lake that it's overlooking? So just seems to me that the lake and the theater go together a lot more than the theater at the mountain.
Other comments?
Yeah, I wanted to change my vote. I'm gonna go with Lakeview as well.
Any other
We're gonna do a
positives
vote
before,
change. Another vote at
before
the
we
end.
go to
Vote, yeah.
the cons?
You ready for the cons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on just a second. Are we finished with the pluses?
The
Is there any
pluses and
comment
other-
there?
Can we ask questions?
Oh,
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Oh,
So my biggest, because I'm on the fence here after listening to all of this, if it was to go to Lakeview, would the building start pretty soon? Or would this be a thing where it now has to wait again until everything on Mountain View gets done before the theater could start at Lakeview?
Well, that was the reason.
regardless of where it goes, the process is going to be that they have to contact the architect, they have to get drawings in it, they have to get it approved by the county, I guess, because we're not incorporated. And then you have to go to get a contractor for it, and the contractor has to figure out what it's going to cost, and that's when we find out how long it'll take. But you're going to have that issue
Either
pretty
way.
much wherever you put it, yes.
But if you're not tearing a building down,
So
it's
Norman, if I
different.
could add something to that, so we have money available for building a pack that's not tied to a particular location, so it's not because we don't have the money for it. We have all the civil engineering things have taken place at Mountain View already that has not taken place at Lakeview yet. So the process to get a building started at Lakeview would be longer than the process to get a building started at Mountain View. But I would like to add 2 more pros if I'm allowed to do that still before we move to the cons.
Quickly.
Okay, one of them is simply that the Players Club could continue to perform at Mountain View while a pack is being built. So you're not dealing with 2 or 3 years of being homeless. And the second thing is that Lakeview is surrounded by restaurants, bars, and things, whereas Mountain View is strictly a residential place. So if you were trying to combine, you've got George's Cafe right there, if we wanted to combine an event with a restaurant visit, it's much, much harder to do at Mountain View.
Steve?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I think Karen makes some really good points. However, and I totally agree that why not, and it makes no sense to me that the Players Club or Tip Top dancers would want to give up their location while they're waiting for the pack to be built. So the logic escapes me as to why you wouldn't want to leave Mountain View for that purpose and put it elsewhere. The aesthetic value of putting an art center, as the word aesthetic and art, notice they both start with A, okay? They're together, they belong together. And the last point on that is, Karen points out that, it's gonna take longer if you do it at Lakeview, and I would submit that that's based on prior experiences. Prior architect, prior contractor. Doesn't mean that that's the only way it would go in the future, meaning we don't know that the same architect, same contractor would operate under the same timeline.
That's absolutely true. Very good.
Is that, could you hear that?
Okay. Question?
Karen stated that we have a separate budget for the PAC. I've never heard that before. I've heard that we have this much money to do Mountain View with, including the PAC in it, and that does not, I've never heard anybody say we have this much for Mountain View, and if we put the PAC there, then we have this much more money that's on the budget. So which is it? Because that's all new to me to hear that we have a separate PAC budget that will be used no matter where we go.
Well, I don't think, we have a certain amount of money in the PIF account right now. And if we choose to put some of that at Mountain View and some of that at Lakeview, we can do that.
So you're saying you'll take away money used on Mountain View to put the PAC somewhere else?
Well, so let's say the
So,
PAC.
that's the big difference, then we have a separate budget for the PAC somewhere else, so.
Right,
I'm
so
just
we're not,
saying.
so it is untrue that there is a special budget that's called, this is a PAC budget, and this is a gymnasium budget, because we don't even know what the different components are. All we knew is that we had a certain amount of money set aside for Mountain View, we have a certain amount of money set aside for Lakeview. The Lakeview money on the PIF plan that exists, that was erroneously called a budget, but that's the plan, didn't have Lakeview coming in for several years now, but that's not something that we're tied to. We can easily say, let's just readjust, rejigger the way that these PAC funds are going to be used. There's nothing to stop us from doing that. So if you build a PAC at Mountain View, you build it for a certain amount of money, let's posit that you can build it for the same amount of money at Lakeview. The location doesn't matter in terms of where those PAC monies can be directed. Unless my fellow colleagues would like to contradict
No, that's
that.
okay.
That's my
Yeah,
understanding.
we don't need to
Yeah.
dig real deep
Yeah.
into the money situation. It's gonna cost the same.
It's gonna cost the same.
Well, more or less.
Not really.
What Karen says is absolutely correct. The money that was budgeted for the PAC, it will continue to be budgeted for the PAC, no matter where it is. But I don't think we answered this member's question here about will it happen first? The answer is yes, for two reasons. One, it's the biggest part, the biggest piece of this process, and it can be separate from what happens at Mountain View, because Mountain View has several parts, except for the PAC. So if you were to say we want to put the PAC at Lakeview, then yes, that's where we would begin. We would begin by putting the PAC at Lakeview, and simultaneously, because it's in several parts, the work that would have been done under the contract at Mountain View will continue to be done at Mountain View.
So, all right, this is an important point to me. So Mountain View was scheduled originally somewhere over 10 years ago and has been postponed by board after board after board as other things have come along, and they constantly say, but we're the board and we can take the money from that was scheduled for Mountain View, which has been on the PIF schedule for a very long time, and reallocate it, because we're the board, to other things, such as Grand Center that we're sitting in, and so Mountain View has been postponed and postponed and postponed and postponed. So you're saying if we vote to put the PAC somewhere other than Mountain View will one more time be postponed
No,
to
I didn't
create
say that at all.
a thing. Is that, I thought you said
I said just the
the
opposite.
PAC would come
Time.
first, is what I heard. So that's, am I wrong in what you're thought?
What I'm saying is,
Right.
because we have separated them, we'll turn our attention first to the PAC. It's the biggest piece of this project,
Okay, yeah.
so it comes first, and then simultaneously with the monies that are scheduled in that same budget, you can work at Mountain View simultaneously on the pieces and parts of this project that are at Mountain View.
Okay, let's get out of the financing. The money's gonna be there to build it,
Yeah.
okay? It'll be there, depending on our recommendation as to where it goes, and how close the
But
directors
isn't
stick
it
to it.
much more expensive to do two separate building projects at the same time than to build it?
Let's,
Let
let me draw on a privilege for running the meeting. Let's move out of the finance picture for right now. Let's go to the cons. What are the problems with putting it at Lakeview? Dave, you?
I think the con that I see is what you're saying, Susan, is the perception, at least perception, that the PAC has been delayed and delayed and delayed.
Possibility that it could be delayed again.
And that it would possibly be delayed again.
Yeah.
Because even though we say we can put the attention there, it does require, as you stated, new addressing, new architects, new plans, new drawings, new, whatever it
Buildings.
requires. And the plan, the site of Lakeview is not defined, where to put it. That's a big one.
Exactly.
Where to put it, and do you modify that circular building? Do we love it, or do we take it down? All those questions are now up in the air.
And
Other cons.
that could add to the cost.
That
Because
could.
if you're gonna do something with the circle building,
Yeah.
or if you're gonna do
Yeah.
something with, that's a whole different,
I
where you
love the
start.
idea about the Lakeview Entertainment Center, and centrally located. I like that, but
Members that haven't talked yet. I want to get everybody to get a chance to talk.
Con? Anybody
Con.
here? Did I say it?
We're on cons.
We're on cons, okay. Complicated. That's all.
That's what it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just complicated.
Complicated and unpredictable.
Yes.
Okay, other cons.
To me, I know everybody, I love the idea of the entertainment area in Lakeview. I love that concept. I don't love the concept of the PAC being at Lakeview. To me, that's putting a large building in and eliminating some of the view of the lake from other areas of the thing. And bottom line is a theater is focused inward. People
Yeah.
go into a theater to stare at something on a stage. They don't go into a theater to stare at the lake that's next to it. And to me, that's a con.
Just hold up on that, otherwise we get individual arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree some with Sue. I think the PAC belongs at Mountain View for the reason she said. I think Lakeview is much better used for a community area that could include so many different things that would pull people there, not just to go in a building. You're pulling people there for the one purpose, to go in the building and not pay attention to anything else. If we left that building out of there and used that corner at Lakeview for an ice cream shop, a picnic area, a farmer's market, things where you would pull in your community to do different things in that area, not just go sit in a building somewhere. The other con I have at Lakeview, everybody's talking about stoplights. They're not necessarily a positive, they can be a negative, because they do stop the traffic. If you have, like when we have the Sun Bowl and we have posse out there, they're moving a lot of cars a lot faster than a stoplight would. And especially there's 3 stoplights you have to deal with.
Other comments? Yeah.
It seems to me that putting the PAC at Lakeview, at least in some measure, is going to destroy the ambiance we have here at Lakeview. Putting a large building somewhere, particularly if we put it at the southwest corner of the property, we have a lovely set of trees, grass there. That's going to destroy it totally.
So it's aesthetics.
Yes, yes. And
It's a pro and con.
it also
Yeah.
seems to me that we would have to do something about parking, depending on where the building is put. The parking, we have a lot of parking there, but I suspect that anything in the way of a new building is going to require parking close to it, or is going to destroy parking, that kind of thing. The third point I see is if we work on building a PAC at the same time as we're working on the improvements for Mountain View, then the improvements for Mountain View, to me, require the destruction of the building. So that would mean if we're going to have the PAC remain at Mountain View until we've got it, Mountain View until we have it available Lakeview, that cuts it way into the
That would delay the mountain project, whatever.
improvements at Mountain View.
Yeah, and I'm not denied comments either, just as I'm hearing it. Who's got their hand up? Steve? Go ahead.
May I just remind some people that when we try to do this thinking of what can't happen, and we use the word can't, the 4-letter word can't, we eliminate the open-minded thought process that I thought we were supposed to apply here, and we remove the ability to talk to the architect because we've already decided we can't do it.
That's not the message I'm getting. I'm getting the message that we're talking about obstacles and potential problems, not that we can't do it. It's just, you've got to look at both sides of the issue. And that's what we're here for. I've got 2 issues with Lakeview, if I can
go ahead.
get a chance to talk. I'm kind of a quiet person.
Yeah, you are.
2 issues. If you put a 25,000 square foot building in any new location, you're going to need a parking spot for every 200 square feet. I don't know where you're going to get that in Lakeview or on any of the other sites either. I mean, it's just a straight space issue. It isn't a matter of ethics or aesthetics or money or anything else. It's just you can't fit toothpaste back into a tube. And if you have to come up with, who knows, 300 new parking spots with an access area to get to it. It isn't just that little spot to park at. You've got to have the ability to turn into it and back out of it. I don't know where that's going to come from. Number two, it's nice to think of a theater on the lake, but take a look at reality. You're in that theater, you get there 15 minutes early, you look at the lake, pretty lake, nice thing, you go in there, you're in there, you come out for intermission, you got another 15 minutes, and then you're back in the theater again. You're really not making any use of that lake. So, again, it's somebody has mentioned it here. You want to get as many people as you can to see that lake because that is the jewel. And if they're sitting in the theater, they're not going to see that. Anybody before Steve? I'm not cutting you off, Steve.
Perfectly understand.
Regarding parking at Mountain View, there is street parking where there isn't at Lakeview. You can't park on those streets there. And there is the opportunity with an agreement with the country club to use their parking in the evenings when they don't use it.
Country club might help out.
So there's a lot of parking on that end.
Okay, those are a couple of good ideas. Okay, Steve, go.
Okay, so I heard a couple things that I think we might be forgetting from presentations that have been given already. One, the scene at the Lakeview, you're thinking about going into a performance and you're thinking that that's the only time you're going to see the lake. But we had talked about that's an outstanding place to put in a restaurant, bar, lounge, have a cocktail before or after. That is common for, if you take a look at what goes on in PACs elsewhere, such as over at P83, Peoria Performing Arts Center, there's all sorts of restaurants and cocktail lounges, everybody, even at the facility itself. If you ever, has anybody gone into the Arizona Broadway Theater?
Right here.
Anybody there?
Me, I am.
Okay. So you can go in, you can have dinner, you can have drinks right there during or before or out. Now it's as an entertainment. I don't understand when people are saying we want an entertainment center, but you don't want to have a drink or a meal there, because I don't understand how you don't have meals and drinks associated with entertainment centers. So if you're removing the viewing of a lake, you have a lake, you're not going to view it, you only want to go into a performing arts center, you want to go see that play, you want to go home, you want nothing else to do with socializing, fine, put it at Mountain View. Put it at Bell.
Dave, you're bringing arguments to,
Yes.
sorry,
I just,
pros and cons.
Yep, okay.
Okay, so can I?
Hang on, Steve, hang on.
I don't know how to make this comment sound good, so I'm going to try to clean it up. We have a different clientele in Sun City going to a play or a dance recital than we do going to P83. Lakeview could be a very big outdoor entertainment place to draw people in and not into a theater. You can have an outside stage and the driveway bands could perform. More local people performing there. We have plenty of singers, we have plenty of dancers, we have plenty of musical people here. We don't need to herd people into a building. We can still have a restaurant, we can still have a bar, we can still have all those things you talked about, but don't put the theater, the PAC there.
Okay. Dave,
Yeah, let me ask a question about the entertainment part, because I'm really not that familiar. I don't see a lot of restaurants in Sun City. Is there, there's a restriction for that because, right, we have George's, that's part of the rec centers. Do we have ability to do restaurants and things in Sun City? We do. Okay. So for some reason, businesses don't.
We know that. In my presentation, if I can speak.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, thank you. Part of my idea is to create an atmosphere where people would go to Sun City and
Yeah.
stay in Sun
Right.
City beyond the play.
I thought that
In
there
other
was
words,
some
you're not-
restriction in Sun
Right,
City against
Exactly. There's,
restaurants on
George's, and
corners.
that's-
right, we don't have that. So I'm thinking if we can create that atmosphere, we
Okay.
have people that
We're
can
on
be there.
cons. We're on cons.
Cons. The con that I see is I have a hard time thinking that I'm going to go to a theater and I'm going to go to Mountain View and I'm going to meet my same friends coming out of pickleball that I saw 8 hours ago.
Okay.
And you're going to pass in the hallway or pass on the sidewalk. I think that is so
Are you
funny.
that uppity?
Yeah, no, but I just think they don't mix is what I'm saying.
Other
We're
cons.
swimmers.
Steve, is this a comment or a editorial?
I'll try to make it brief so it's not an editorial, but you cut me off anytime, Norm. Go right ahead. So to your point regarding parking, parking's an issue no matter where we put it, right? You're
Yes.
going to have to deal with that 200-person population, 200 whatever. But we talked about parking multiple times, and you said, let's not get into the financials right now. Then we have to understand we have limited space, so you go vertical. Like anyone who wants to have more parking and limited space, they have to go vertical.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. We're still on cons. Steve.
So Norm,
The con is that we're going to have to deal with parking. We're going to have to go vertical no matter where we go.
That's absolutely right.
That's more editorial. Go ahead.
just to note on Steve's comment before about Arizona Broadway Theater, which is a wonderful place, which backs up into the canal, because they don't need any scenery there. Everybody enjoys it without a lake, just saying.
Okay, one more comment and we're gonna go.
I just as a con, Russ, I think what you're saying is incompatible uses are being combined. Okay.
We better go on to the other side.
We were told in the beginning, we need to keep reality in mind. And as I said, our clientele is a whole lot different than Arizona Broadway Theater. And I said, I don't know how to clean this up, but how many 85-year-old ladies are going to come out of the theater and go to a restaurant and have cocktails? It's just not the
Golly, I'm
same.
85, I hope they do.
Let's raise your hand, everyone.
Don't put that down.
Some of these people that are coming to the place have never been to a theater.
Really?
Oh, man. Okay, so I go to multiple theaters throughout the whole area, including Scottsdale, Phoenix, wherever anybody invites me to go. And one of the things we love to do is eat before or have a dessert after. And it's super limited here to find anyone that's even open after 8, if you want to do anything. So I do think it would be neat to have the theater somewhere where maybe you could get a little bite to eat, or make a deal with George's that they might stay open one night a week.
I don't see
But when I go to the theater, I don't really care where it's setting. I think it's nice if it's pretty, but I don't really care. I'm going for the play or the entertainment. So to me, whether you place this thing anywhere isn't as important to me as the fact that we get one that will draw people and draw maybe some, don't get mad, better variety of entertainment to it.
Yeah.
Because I want
I
to
get it.
stay in Sun City. I want to do my thing here. I can't.
Okay.
Would a wine bar make a difference?
Pardon me?
Would a wine bar in the theater make a
Oh,
difference?
well, not for me, but everybody else I go with, yes. Would love it.
One more comment.
Just one comment about vertical, and a comment was made about the Peoria Theater. I don't know where they park either, except by the Peoria Cafe parking lot, okay? But we're in Sun City. We have a lot of people that aren't real mobile, and when you start looking at a parking ramp, you know, they have to get from someplace to an elevator or something to get down and up. And that could be an issue.
The same issue came up with Fairway. We put in elevators and ramps. Okay, let's move on to Mountain View. Let's go start with the pros. What's the pro for having it at Mountain View?
It's already there.
Yeah,
It's already
It's
there.
already there.
It's already
It's
been
established
there.
that it's already there.
decades, right?
There have been years' worth of discussion and planning for it to be there, including lots of Sun City-wide open discussions.
Got a history of it.
And it's got the history.
Dave, you were making a motion.
No, that was the.
It draws people to the south end of town.
Yay!
Sorry, could you repeat that? I just said.
It draws people to the south of Grand.
We've already done a good bit of work on putting it at Mountain View.
Yeah. A lot of planning.
We're on cons, aren't we?
Pros.
I'm 85.
You need a glass of wine.
Get him some wine, yeah.
Don't go to the theater.
Okay, someone who hasn't said anything, wants to say anything about the,
Well, I said,
Pros.
it's been there, so that it does have a history, so that's, that's a positive. But that doesn't mean it can't be moved.
that's right. We're just talking about.
Pros or cons, Bill?
Pros, yeah.
A pro is, we kind of already have a plan and it fits well with everything else we want to do in that location. So,
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Another pro is we've got parking there.
Yes.
You'll need some more, but you don't need everything. You just need to add some parking.
and we won't be destroying parking.
Other pros, before we go to cons, this is your chance to do the pros. Steve, any pros?
For PAC at Mountain View,
Yeah,
I have no pros for PAC at Mountain View whatsoever.
that'll be the shortest speech he's ever given.
Glad you identified.
Okay, let's go to the cons then. What's the problems with putting it there at Mountain View?
I got a question. Yeah. So Tad, I'm sorry, that a lot of work has gone in already to the Mountain View. Why, if you just change the location of the building, why would all that work go to waste?
I'm not sure that it would, but if we have to do a civil engineering job to check out where to put it, what needs to be done in the way of foundation and so forth, that's additional work that has to be done. I don't know whether the actual building couldn't be transferred, but as I said, we've already got it done on a site at Mountain View.
More pros.
Cons.
Well, I got a con. I think basically if you take the footprint of the PAC out of there, it enables other things that people would use on a more daily basis.
What's needed?
And I have a question. Is there any data that's needed?
Yes.
Well, I think we're talking about additional pickleball courts.
Well, yeah, but does the additional pickleball courts have to go at Mountain View?
Well, if I remember discussion, basically they were looking for a Marinette being north, Mountain View being south.
Yeah.
As far as the separation. It also would enable keeping the gymnasium there. There's no gymnasium available in Sun City. Nothing like it.
And again, I'd ask the question, is there any data that says that the gymnasium is needed?
Well, you have basketball.
No, I'm talking numbers, not activities, numbers.
We don't have the numbers.
Don't have the
I haven't
numbers.
seen the numbers.
Don't
It
have
was a
numbers.
rhetorical question.
It
Well,
is.
I've said it a couple times. We have one place where we could put 500 people in this flat space. And when that's closed down, as it was
That's
going to
right.
be, there is no other place. And where we have to be put into the Sundial Auditorium, we're reaching fire code restrictions.
I don't know about that.
Well, I do.
Clarify.
Okay, so
With 500 people named Sundown.
You're talking about the Aqua
not in
Fitness sign
Sundial,
up.
in Mountain View, where we have to be.
No.
You mean Mountain View, you said. You
I'm
said
sorry,
Mountain.
but
yeah.
that's where we have to be because Sundial's down. So given a gymnasium with another flat space that could handle more than 30 people, it is an option.
Okay.
Wait a
Other
minute,
cons?
so I'm just, because I'm taking notes here, what's the con? Or is this a pro that you were actually mentioning?
I guess it's a pro of him with the gymnasium, that it's another big flat space.
it's a hard curve to keep moving in the same direction here.
Are we gonna close the passion?
I do have a pro, but it really is not gonna, it's again in the idea of, don't say can't unless you really look at it. The Mountain View building can be, unless it's an inadvertent, well, I'm not very articulate, unless it is demonstrated that it is surely can't from an architectural standpoint, can it not be beautified, fortified, and extended so that the back part could meet all of the needs of the extra space and the extra of the Players Club and not have to take it down? That would allow for an entertainment kind of a center to be at Lakeview.
Okay.
So the pro is possibly not expensing or not tearing down the auditorium and updating it to the back.
You're saying remodel.
Remodel.
Yeah.
I thought we discussed
Okay.
that that was.
Street traffic at Mountain View, we're coming out of the theater, is very difficult on Mountain View and 107. You have to go south when you come out to one parking lot.
One way.
One way.
One way.
And I would just like to add to it, I think that a lot of people think, okay, that we're talking about pre-productions during the year. But just to remind ourselves that the argument in favor of a PAC, we said in 240 days of the year, there would be 202 at least performances that would be taking place. So you're not talking about just a few days of the year when you've got an issue. You're talking about a PAC that would be scheduled to have a performance almost every day. So traffic is not something that is just incidental because of that.
So you're talking about all the other clubs, Karen?
A performance or a rehearsal?
A performance. Well, so some of them were rehearsals, but
Yeah,
it was.
rehearsals don't require.
But we were talking about performances on more days than not. So I'm just trying to make the point that we're not talking about just a few incidental days in the year
Yeah.
where traffic becomes an issue. It would be a very ongoing.
That's an observation, not a pro or con.
It's tacking on to the con that Paul mentioned, and I just wanted to emphasize that I would, so it's basically agreeing with Paul that traffic is an issue, and it's probably a bigger issue than many of us may be thinking.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem. There's a whole lot of tentacles going out whatever we do with PAC. And you get into these tentacles, and pretty soon you're in the weeds, and pretty soon you don't know where you are. You know, and that's why I'm trying to keep it on a site location with some database pros and cons on it. And getting the committee members' viewpoints that have not really had a voice up till now. They talk, but I think this is helping us, get a better idea. You have something more to add to that?
No, just that it would be really bad to get out of there after a performance.
Yeah, but when they have an audience, that makes.
Well, Posse could be invited to assist again.
Wouldn't it be pretty much equivalent to when Sun Bowl gets out?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not near as bad as Sun Bowl.
Yeah.
Well,
And Sun Bowl traffic was.
Sun Bowl, everybody handles it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on either site?
I think the concept of incompatible uses has been mentioned in the past as, you're putting your fine arts performance, a symphony production, next to all sports activities.
But there aren't very many activities, period, going on at nighttime when the performance is on.
But there's matinee performance.
25 pickleball
But
courts.
rehearsals and stuff doesn't matter, but.
But there's matinee
You will
performances.
have people in there until
Yeah.
it closes.
Okay. Any other comments on this? You've been quiet.
Okay, I told you what my pros. Asked him about a con.
All right. Anything else the members want to discuss?
I have a question. Okay, so let's say we voted just for fun to move it to Lakeview, and you get your architects involved, and you get your structural engineers, and you get your environmental people in there, and they say, you can't put it here. Meanwhile, you've destroyed Mountain View, so we can't put it back in Mountain View. Now where's it go? Because we don't even
That's an
know, we
interesting-
honestly don't even know if it can go to Lakeview, because there is gonna be environmental issues. There's gonna be water drainage, there's gonna be all kinds of concepts about, you know, when we put this building up, where does the water that normally goes in the ground go now? So are you screwing around with the lake at this point? Because you gotta do something. And I'm just throwing this out because I don't wanna vote to move it to Lakeview until I absolutely know it could go there.
I guess that would be unknown environmental issues. I don't know how you categorize
I'd hate to
it.
have us move it to Lakeview and then find out you can't put it there.
Yeah, that's the law of unintended consequence.
I know.
And that happens in
And
every
Lakeview,
site.
you're also dealing with that with the theater traffic, you're dealing with the traffic. You're dealing with the traffic that comes off of 60, and you're dealing with the hospital and ambulances. I don't know how much you want to tie that traffic up to let 100 people leave the theater.
They're gonna stay for a drink.
Usually.
Then they'll go to the hospital.
That's if we can even get a license for food in
Right?
there.
I was to say, usually on stoplights, there is a mechanism that you can basically keep green going.
Yeah.
So you can.
I'd buy it. If there was, I would buy it.
Yeah, but if
You need to be a fireman to get that, to take that out of
but
the
if you had
truck.
an official there that working with.
Okay, just one more thing on the Lakeview thing is, we're talking about building a large building on the lake, which to me is obstructing views of other things going on in the lake. And then the answer to parking is to build a all parking structure as well. So to me, that's a double negative.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
from-
I've got one now.
Oh, go.
Well, I know we probably shouldn't be bringing up personal interests into this for what you
You're right.
want, for what you want.
You're
or
right.
what I want. But I also.
Unless you have to add it to back it.
I see a problem if you put the pack at the Mountain View, where and how are you gonna add more pickleball courts there? If you put the pack at the Lakeview, it frees up this huge piece of real estate to put more pickleball courts.
Sorry.
Personal opinions.
Personal opinion.
Okay.
I
All right.
know.
That's fair.
I'm just saying.
That's fair. We've gone through our pro and cons.
Norm, that's equally true for the fact that you're adding to this footprint, a gymnasium, an outdoor spa, and a sports pool that isn't presently there. I'd like to go back to the lake, because people keep saying obstructed views and obstructed views. If, just for the sake of argument, say it's in a round building, you cut the building in half, and the back half gets put towards the theater, and the front, which is facing the lake, whether it's half or whatever it is, should be a view of the lake. We talk about bars and fine dining. We're building a pack for use by members. So maybe the front of this building is a rehearsal hall for the players, and seconds as a dance floor for the dance groups. So we're looking for the lake. Maybe the music room. Maybe there's a music room there. The lobby could face the lake. So we keep talking about bars and restaurants and dinner, but let's think about what we can do for the members who also need space in the building. And one more thing, Norm, the lovely grass, which may be there for quite some more time to come on the corner of Frankfurt and Del Webb, takes a lot of water, takes a lot of work and a lot of manpower. And I'm not exactly sure how long we're going to be able to continue to support that piece of greenery.
Steve, you want to say something again?
No, it's Gene.
Gene.
Oh, Gene, I'm sorry.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just a couple of things. I've been taking notes. So going back, somebody said something about parking and that possibly you could use parking spots at the country club. Well, if the pack was at Lakeview, there might be some sort of an arrangement that could be made with Banner Health across the street for parking, and have shuttles or golf carts or some sort of whatever to bring the people over. What I'm wondering is, and I don't know, Norm, if this has been brought up, Karen alluded to it when she said that there's going to be a whole lot more activity surrounding a pack at Mountain View, depending on the size. So has it been determined if you're doing the smaller seated auditorium, so that, or are we still, who's using the pack? I guess that's my question.
Well, we've got, I think, 9 out of the 11 groups that have said that they could use the pack. Numbers wise, I have no idea what the attendance would be.
Okay, so I kind of see Karen's point. You're gonna have a whole, if all these groups are going to be using the auditorium at Mountain View, there's gonna be a lot more activity and traffic there than what the folks are accustomed to. That's all.
That's a good possibility, yes. Steve?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't have your hand up, I'm sorry. I'm certainly not going to call on you if you don't have your hand up.
I don't want to talk.
I have a question. If we put the pack on the corner that you're talking about at Lakeview, well, first of all, can we put it on the corner because of visibility, will traffic control be an issue, or traffic be an issue, but if you put it on that corner and the existing Lakeview that's there now would obstruct your vision of seeing the lake anyway.
When you go to
So would
theater,
we
you
have to take that down first?
Okay, yeah, I just wanted her to finish before you said.
Yeah, that wasn't my intention. My intention was it could go in at the same time that you were working on Mountain View, and all you have to do is remove trees and landscaping. When you go to the theater, you're not necessarily looking at the lake right away. The coming and going is when you're looking at the theater, not when you're at the theater.
But
That
you
was my
can't
point.
see the lake.
I understand
Unless
that.
you get around the Lakeview building.
My point was the theater could be there is the same time you could be building out Mountain View, and you can transfer the people from Mountain View Theater to the Lakeview Theater when the theater is built. Then you can attack and work on other parts of Lakeview later at a different stage, how you want to approach the lake.
But it was mentioned that one of the advantages is that you still have the theater functioning.
That's right.
While you're building the
You
new
have the
one.
theater functioning all the time.
But that may or may not be the case. Yeah.
It's an option.
Okay. Other comments from the committee members? And I see guests raising their hands, but we're doing the members.
Well, you already had one person in the audience speak, that's why I raised my hand.
He did answer because I'm on the Zoom.
I thought that wall had been broken.
She's the director. No, it hasn't been broken, trust me.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'm with players.
Other comment from anybody on anything regarding this site?
You said 20 to 25,000 square foot theater.
That was just, I just threw it out because that's what's
But
been kicked around.
couldn't it be smaller than that? What did you saw at Sun City West?
Could be any size.
Well, even smaller, if you put it at a different location, you're gonna have to provide all new parking,
Right.
which is a big
Okay.
difference from putting it in the location where you already have theater parking. That's the issue as I see it.
Yes, and the people at Sun City West are complaining bitterly about the size of what they've got in the way of theater.
Not when I was there, they didn't.
You haven't talked to the people who are putting on performances.
Okay, the size of the theater is a future battle down the road.
That's gonna be fine.
Okay, anybody else?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
In my mind, it seems to me we're doing this backward. Don't we have to decide what we're going to build before we decide where we're going to put it? Don't we have to decide if we're building a 400-seat theater or a 200-seat theater and where it would fit?
Well, the other question, the other side of that question is, we can't decide the size of it until we decide where it's going to go. You know, so it's a conundrum. Yeah.
Well, we can decide
And that's why my initial.
money may be the decider on what size we're building.
Well, it may be, my personal opinion would be that it's going to be more the site location than the money. You know, get a 25,000 square foot building or 30,000 square, it's gonna cost about today. It's a per square foot cost.
No, I'm saying the size,
The economy.
yeah. I'm not convinced yet we need a bigger theater, but that's my personal opinion.
Well, but remember what was presented to us. The seating area is a very small part of the theater. The
Right,
big area is backstage.
but there are
And
ways to
everything's right.
accommodate some of that. Some of that backstage can be underground. So you don't need the footprint.
I don't know if it can be or not.
Well, you can dig holes in this. There are plenty of people that have holes done.
Why don't I have a basement in my house?
Because it's too expensive to pay it in.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have two things.
Yes?
So this is, we've sort of mentioned this as a pro for Lakeview, but the con side of it for Mountain View is that there are no commercial enterprises close by for dining or eating, fellow playgoer, concert goers. Another one would be, where do the players go during construction? If you make it at Mountain View, it's gonna be a couple of years where the players have no place to perform.
Yep. Yep. No doubt about that.
So we're considering George a great pre-theater restaurant, 'cause it's the only thing up there.
Well, you got-
Steve Oaks made a presentation, if you remember, about putting an upscale dining area in there.
Eventually,
Well,
yeah,
eventually.
eventually, that's a
We are
possibility.
not talking about roast beef and
Sandwiches.
pot
But
roast.
it doesn't exist at this point, is what we're saying. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready for another straw
Oh,
vote?
let's do a vote.
Yep,
yeah.
do straw vote.
Okay. So how many people would be in favor of it being at Lakeview? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many would be in favor of it? Oh, 7, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to overlook you, Steve. You're taller than me, I can't overlook you.
you're welcome, Steve.
How many?
Thank you, Susan.
How many would be in favor of the Mountain View location? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So
No, you didn't count yourself, Bill.
4. And you.
And you.
Yeah.
5. Is that 5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, yeah. Hey, I didn't do well in math.
You just didn't count yourself.
And you don't have
We're not
85-year-old
leaving out,
eyes.
we're counting.
Okay, so it really stayed about the same, didn't it?
Well, it went from
No.
5
No,
for the
it's-
Lakeview and 7 for the Mountain View and a flip flop now. It was 5 to 7,
Flip the other way.
now it's 7 to 5.
Hey,
For
Norm,
Mountain View.
Norm, I got a question. It's on.
Okay, but so we're really blocked
Yep.
in these two locations. So maybe what we can say is that we ought to ask the directors if we should be looking at these two locations instead of the other 3, and so we can get focused and have fewer variables. If you have 5 sites, that's a whole lot of tentacles going out in all directions. If you have 2 sites, we've reduced that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think the committee would be happy with having 2 sites, correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
Would be happy at 2 sites if the directors would see that that's a direction we might want to investigate. Okay?
Wasn't there a discussion about the vacant land north of the softball court, or softball area?
The bowl, the 9 acres that are there. Yeah, there is a strip of land, but as new information, Joy, what I've been told is that somehow is a drainage area. That takes the water to the street. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I was told by somebody who has a position where you should know that information.
Here's one big one. I prefer Mountain View, but I can go to Lakeview. But we have to keep in mind, we're looking at 2 sites, and Lakeview may not be a possibility. So we can't give up on Mountain View. We're gonna have to do double design.
We're looking,
would have to do
we would be looking at both sites, and my secretary here has got the pros and cons down,
Yeah.
and you're gonna
I have not recorded the vote totals, so I'm just doing the pros.
I have one more.
Just, you know, there's
No,
extra,
it doesn't, no, it's just a straw vote.
Yeah.
there's going to be extra expense in investigating that site,
Yep.
and the expenses have already been paid on this site, and that may come up as, no, you can't do it. And I
Absolutely.
would think there'd be a lot more involved in the Lakeview site because of traffic and hospital and helicopters and.
Well, those are things that we would have to do.
We have to.
Complicated.
Josh?
Yeah.
Am I correct that you're asking kind of for a straw vote to eliminate sundial and bell from consideration of the committee? Would you like to think about that?
That's what I'm getting from the committee.
That's what you're
They
trying
want
to
to
say.
look at these two sites in more depth.
Only two.
And I got a question. What do we do about the people that are not dialed in, or that are on the list that also could be voting? You know, you have the list, John, you know.
Well, we got to go with what we got.
No, I understand that.
Because if they're not here, they didn't get the information we got.
But,
Well, they can walk.
but couldn't we
We have a quorum.
send them the email with the information that Sheila
That
Haley put
way,
down?
That's-
every committee member has had the option to dial in from wherever they are.
Right.
If you're not here, you're not here, you know, and you can't do that. You can't say, if the board meeting takes place and the board members neither show up nor appear on their virtual things, you can't say, well, we're gonna go back and redo things because they weren't there and after we, you can't do that.
And that's why I call it a straw vote, because it isn't an official vote, it's just
Well, we do have a quorum.
indication.
Of the-
Okay, but, you know, we're not gonna go down to quorum. But that's the feeling I get from the committee.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just no question, no, I mean, this is a technicality, but you have a non-committee member voting.
What did you say?
You have a non-committee member voting. Oh, Russ is, right.
Because I'm an alternate, you mean?
Steve, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Oh, because they're both here.
Yeah.
Duly noted. No, he's saying Russ.
You're an alternate.
I'm
He's an alternate.
I'm an alternate as well.
He's an alternate right here.
But is the other person here?
Is your,
No,
okay.
Right, he's an alternate to him. So they're both here.
yeah.
Okay, I've got a
Not
question.
that that person.
What's the
Okay.
Russ is good.
Norm,
Behind you,
Norm, what's the purpose of an alternate? If the alternate can't vote when you can't be here. The person who's come from me has come only for one time. I've always had somebody here to represent me when I can't be here except one time, with the assumption that that person could represent mini golf and vote.
Yes.
If they can't, then when I'm
Oh,
not here, no one will be
no,
here.
what we're saying, two people can't represent.
Oh,
The
I got
issue
you.
is,
Two
Steve
people from
is
the
here
same
and he
club.
is Steve's alternate.
Oh,
But
okay.
the alternate has to be a Sun City
Okay, so
resident, not a
then we've
resident.
accomplished what we wanted to do, we've narrowed it down, but we still got a long way to go, folks. And doing it in the summertime is just awful, but I don't see an alternative to that. So we go with what we've got, we go with who's here, and we get the data that we need, we'll make a decision, yes, sir.
I just want to thank everybody for being here. Sorry, I know it's a big sacrifice.
And I'm gonna get you for that,
I know.
John. Okay, I'm done.
I,
I have a question,
do
how
we
much
know what
is,
we're building? Are we building a pack, a gymnasium, a pickleball court?
I thought that's what we were gonna discuss today, truthfully, that's why we were having a committee meeting.
We got time, we can go there if you want. The committee wants to talk about
Yeah, I mean,
gymnasiums.
we're the Mountain View Committee, not the
Jeannie.
PAC Committee.
Jean, yes.
Have you decided what size you're building?
No.
No. That's my question. What are we building?
It seems like if you knew the size of the building that you're thinking of, it might help you decide where you want to put it.
Exactly.
And the other side of that coin is, if you know where you're gonna put it, that might help determine the size.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. I didn't say it was easy. Okay? And I'm done, John.
You're done? It's only 3:15.
Can I stick my neck out here?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time last night writing this. This is my opinion of what should be built, and this is what should be built at Mountain View. I think we should build the 3 new pools, the resort, the lap pool, and the sports pool. The sports pool needs to be big enough to accommodate at least 2 water volleyball courts for simultaneous play. The pool should be partly shaded, the lap pool should have 2 to 3 lanes. The resort pool should be built to accommodate water aerobics classes as well as swimmers, and it should not be more than 6 feet deep. You can bob in 6 feet. We need to have a separate water source and filtration separate from the lap pool because they require different temperatures. The pickleball area, I think we need to build, I think we have enough room to build 12 indoor courts at Mountain View. That means no gymnasium. I don't think we need a gymnasium at this point. We have plenty of flat surface places. Basketball is there, I understand they're there, but the need isn't as great as pickleball. Maybe basketball needs to look in the future to Lakeview or someplace else. We need a fitness center. I don't know square footage, but something similar to what Bell has. It could be, as I said, maybe if we excavate, we can reduce some of this footprint size. Fitness center could be under pickleball. It's possible. The theater should have no more than 299 seats, and what I'm saying that for is, we have been told several times, don't go over 300 because of ADA. Bill told us that the only thing that changes is if you have more than 300 seats, you need more ADA seats. I can't believe that we would be told, don't build anything over 300 just because of seat numbers.
Right.
There's got to be something else in here that we don't know about. I believe we need permanent seating. Sorry, John, I don't like your retractable seats.
Oh, that's okay.
Those are the kind of seats I find when I go to a basketball game. I'm going to the theater. I don't think it should be more than 20,000 square feet, and again, that's footprint, 20,000 square feet. Again, I'm saying excavate. We need no fly. We need to look at rear projection and technology. Mini golf, save the mini golf and refurbish it, because we know if we rebuild it, it's going to cost a fortune. I didn't know a lot about lawn bowling until you spoke today, and I had a question, do we need the space, do we not need the space? And I think we do need the space, it's not a question anymore. And the rotunda, the check-in space, needs to be a space that's big enough to check in people. We don't need to have a dance hall as big as it is, and it doesn't need to be 40 feet tall. It just needs to meet our security and safety needs and provide us with a place where we can check in. End of story.
I love it.
John?
Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. We don't need water walls.
What?
It's a need and a want.
Oh. That's it.
When we're looking at money, we don't need a water wall. We don't need glass wall buildings. We have water restrictions to be looking at, heating and cooling. As I said, retractable seating is not a wall. I think the Lakeview project is a separate community development project that, yes, we can do a lot for a community center, but I'm not sure that's the place for the theater. And water volleyball is growing rapidly, and we need the extra pools. In the event that water volleyball dies, that could be a therapy pool. And in the event that pickleball dies, Karen had mentioned how easy it would be to remodel that building into something else. No tennis courts, sorry.
Could you,
You haven't played tennis there in many years because you said it's terrible, so that tells me there's not a need.
I just don't like that argument. It's not a good argument.
If court surfaces aren't maintained, players are not gonna use it.
Well, but they're playing somewhere.
That's because the facility is inadequate. and not
Right,
taken
but it's
care of.
not a dire need if they're finding someplace else to go.
John?
That could be said about anything.
I just wanted to make a comment. The next two meetings are with architects, is that correct?
Three.
No, I think we're going to continue to debate.
Oh, because I think this may be the time to bring in some architects.
Yes.
Yeah.
And give us some answers to the questions that were raised
Yes.
about the different sites. Are these comments accurate? Is there evidence to back that up? or are these just opinions? None of us sitting here know a whole lot about architecture. Well, maybe you do. But I think that, because what I was going to suggest, but you just destroyed it, thanks, John. I was going to suggest that we do a little brainstorming about questions we would have for the architect if they in fact were coming in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Yes. Yeah.
So I have something here that I'd like to pass around, and it's not because I'm promoting this at all. This is something that appeared out of nowhere. We don't know what the origin, I don't know what the origin of this is. A fellow board member gave this to me and asked me just to pass it out. So somebody put together, does anybody here want to claim this drawing here? That
Don't move it so fast.
this is Mountain View.
Well, that was John's spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still there.
I'm just going to pass it around, and please understand I am not promoting this at all, but I'm doing due diligence in passing this around. Essentially what this does is to turn lawn bowling at Mountain View into 12 additional pickleball courts. Just saying, as I said, I'm doing my duty
You're
in
fired.
passing this around.
I didn't do it.
I don't want Norm to never speak to me again, so.
A lot of people want me never to speak to him again.
All right, to Norm's point about bringing in the architect, being somebody who studied architectural engineering, an architect really can't answer the questions that we have. We need a site engineer to have gone to the sites and determine, will there be water issues? Can this be leveled? All that kind of stuff. That's not an architect. An architect takes after the site engineer says, here's your land, and decides, and asks you what you want and decides what to put on it.
That's a good point.
So to me, an architect at that point really, an architect can help us, throw together once we decide what we want to do. But I think like John said, we need another week of talking. Do we want to put in a gym? We really need to talk about the whole, do we want 3 pools? Do we want the old pool? Do we want what? We really need to have another meeting where we make actual decisions as to what's going to happen to Mountain View as a whole before we talk to an architect as to what design might work best for us.
Yeah, good point.
Good point.
Can't we finalize the basketball thing right now? Kind of like take our vote, we know where we're at.
Yeah.
Right?
Why don't we make some of those decisions right now?
Yeah.
Are you talking just basketball or
That's what was
gymnasium?
mentioned.
Gymnasium. That could be used for other activities.
For other things,
This is a gymnasium.
Gymnasium.
I got a question now. So you're saying, so let's just say we went with your list, which is an awesome list, by the way, and we move the theater though to Lakeview, that opens the spot where the theater was, so why couldn't the gymnasium go there? So for me to vote no on a gymnasium, I would only vote no on a gymnasium if it meant that the theater couldn't be there. So it all circulates to me on where the theater
This is a
goes.
vicious circle.
It's a bit,
Yes.
We need to decide what we're building,
Yes,
and then
And
engineers are gonna tell us where we can build it.
yes.
I'm
So
gonna
I
bring
would
it
say
in.
yes to
And we're
you
taking
gymnasium.
can have
the money-
pickleball there instead of a gym.
If we're taking the money for the PAC and putting that money somewhere else, do we have money to add something else in there in place?
have no
Because
idea.
that's additional cost onto Mountain View.
True.
So there's that thought too.
And we're back in the weeds.
Yes,
Yes,
weeds,
we are.
yeah, weeds. We need to smoke some weeds.
I just came back
Chill,
to Colorado.
Things alive. You didn't even bring donuts, much less weed.
I ate them all.
We gotta burn some of those weeds down, we can see what we're doing.
So is there, okay, other than the gymnasium, is there anything else anyone can see adding to her list? Because I think that list was pretty comprehensive.
I believe we should do 2 pools. I do believe that, as somebody presented, extending the sport pool so that it can be used as both a lap pool and a sport pool, to me just makes sense.
Instead of
then
3
you have
separate
2
pools.
pools instead of
3.
1.
Do you remember, can we get 3 water volleyball courts in there if we extend it? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I think we
I think it's
But I will say, if I could, both the swim club and the water volleyball club are in favor of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've
Okay.
And they
agreed.
both need the same equipment for
Okay.
cooling the
So
pool.
2 pools instead of 3.
And I think the gentleman that did the swim club recommended that the sport pool would also be used for aqua fitness.
Yep.
That wouldn't fly because the sport pool wants cool water.
Right,
Nobody doing aqua fitness wants cool water.
No.
right, right.
Even the 73-year-old women, not only the 85. It just won't fly. So it would have to be at least the 2 pools.
And that would be the resort pool.
Exactly.
So we
Some
do
of the
it.
water volleyball players don't like the cold water either, but they wear neoprene jackets as it is, I hear. And-
But
and-
there is some adjustability as to the water temperature, that's the whole point. Is if it's gonna be used as a lap pool then it would be set at a certain temperature, and if it's going to be used for the competition, then they can change the temperature for that.
And also the sport pool, he recommended being, starting at 4 feet to I think 5 feet or maybe 6 feet. 4 feet, we need it shallower than that for aqua fitness, down to 3.5 feet. Not everybody's 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
So
I think 3 pools
So,
is good.
so your point is,
I like the 3
you need 2
I like
pools,
the
not
3
3.
pools.
Yes, right.
So the aqua fitness pool is really not.
Would be in the resort.
The resort pool.
Yeah, the resort
Okay.
pool. And so I guess the question is, will people agree that that is, do people see that as the
Do you
best
want to
option?
vote on that? So you're saying.
Sure.
What was the third pool? What was the third pool?
I had resort pool, lap pool, and sports pool.
When the lap pool was separate alongside the
Right.
resort pool.
Which I like, I don't know, I don't see why not just do it.
Didn't make sense.
And they can be combined, I don't have a problem with that.
Why not just do it? I mean, if you're
As
gonna
long
spend the
as
money,
they all
guys, why
agree on
not
water
just do it,
temperature
do it
and-
right?
So all
3
that-
separate pools.
What are we voting on?
Well, I have one more thing. On the 2, if we have 2 pools, a sports pool, which is also a lap pool, and the resort pool, I would want it to be where recreational swimmers can always get to the water. Right now, they can't. We're blocked off from aqua fitness now, 2 hours a day. And if there's water volleyball and swimmers in the other pool.
That's why you need 3 pools.
We need 3 pools, guys. Wait,
But
if you're
wait,
gonna do it right.
The resort pool, we use it from 8 to 10 on 2 days a week and from 8 to 9 on
And
2
nobody
days a
else-
week.
nobody
And
else
we
can do
don't
that.
use it the rest of the day.
But this resort pool is larger than the current pool. So why couldn't a section be sectioned off
No,
for the
that,
non?
that,
They
that
use the
will,
whole resort.
that will not work. We use music
Yeah, that
and,
doesn't
and
work out.
other people will interfere with that and other people don't want to be around it. Right now, when we're in Mountain View, we don't let other people come down to the pool because before you know it, they're going to be in the pool.
And you're there 2 hours?
2 hours on 2 days a
I think
week.
scheduling is fine.
Right, and people that want to use the pool to swim, they can come in from 6 to 8.
All the other hours, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all within 3 hours of children's.
Right, and then from,
Which is
as soon as aqua fitness is over, it's children's hours.
Anita has her hand up.
We had this discussion in the very beginning. We can't make everybody happy. So if people don't have use of the pool for 2 hours, we have 7 other pools. We don't have the money to put everything in every place.
That's right, yeah.
We can't,
We don't have the room either.
we don't have the room, we don't have the money. We're trying to meet the biggest needs of our community. So I'd say if you can't swim for 2 hours one day, oh
That's why
well.
we have 7 other pools
You know,
out there.
it's just like, I don't believe we should have a second walking path.
Yeah.
We have one, it's only used a couple hours in the morning.
Well, just like the volleyball, you do not have dedicated space. We don't have dedicated space except the bulletin board at Sundial and the back room where the drains are, which we share with the handicapables. So our use is the pools, which the rec center, the club's office, guarantees our club to use.
Gene's waving.
Well, just to, so you're telling me that you're gonna go with retractable seating?
You can have retractable seating by the pool.
Well, I'd go for that compromise.
Or maybe in the pickleball pavilion.
Pickleball.
Oh,
Yeah, pickleball.
Gene wants to talk.
Yeah, we're going informal, which is fine, but the people on the screen are raising their hands.
Jean.
Gene?
Jean.
Me?
She doesn't have
Yes.
a picture.
No,
Yes.
Jean.
She can't see us.
Yes.
Jean.
Yes!
Me? Okay, I just want to say something. I don't know if Elsa is there from Aqua Fitness.
Yes, you.
I am.
Okay, I want to tell you all that Aqua Fitness has cried and begged for more room for years. I was one of the participants, and I'm going to tell you, you get a room full, the sundial full of thousands of women trying to get a spot
Well, you don't want to be there.
on one of those times and days. They were here before volleyball even started, so please keep that in mind. That's a little plug for Aqua Fitness.
And that's why I'm saying,
You get your money later.
and that's why I said we have to serve the masters first. Aqua Fitness has many more people than the 25 that want to go there any time of the day to swim.
Yeah, true. No, kids
So,
hours.
I mean, we've got 200 people in that pool compared to 25.
We have
I
700
would rather make 200
members,
people
yes.
happy,
But they're not all in the water.
No, but there's what, 5 pools that we use.
whatever it is.
So can I bring us back to the question?
It's
Uh, So is it a time where we can vote on 2 pools versus 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is
Let's
it?
do
Okay.
that.
Okay, so if it is that time, how many people would combine the lap pool and the water volleyball pool into one pool that would be used by both those 2 courts? And free for swimming when no one else is using it. All in favor?
So wait a minute, you got me, let's go with 2 pools or 3 pools instead.
Yes.
Telling us all what they're gonna
We
do.
want 2 pools and we want 3 pools.
You want 2? Okay. You want 2 pools?
2 pools, 2
pools?
pools.
Okay, 2 pools.
2
How many
pools.
people want
Okay.
3 pools? 1.
Oh, well.
I did get a chance. but
Did Steve vote?
there
Steve,
must
did
be
you
one
vote?
to one.
Did you vote, Steve?
I did, I voted for the 2 pools.
All right.
You win, Steve.
It's unanimous then.
Hooray, we agree on something.
Is there anything
On the
else
pools.
like that?
Well, we're gonna
The
vote on
gymnasium.
Gym or no gym.
Gymnasium.
The gymnasium.
Jim or no Jim, is that
Yeah, I think
another one that's like that?
That's fair.
Go for it.
So how many people would go with, I'm going to say, no Jim? Okay. How many people would go with a gym? It's pretty, Steve, what was yours?
I was a no gym.
No Jim. Okay. So Jim seems to be not an option at this point. Okay.
Do we maintain these?
Let's see if there's anything else. How many people want to retain mini golf as it is
As it is.
and
But
renovate?
refurbished, yeah, renovate.
I'd like to
Can
make
you
it.
just leave it at retain and not necessarily as is? Can you?
No,
Well, retain and renovate.
Yeah,
No.
renovated, yeah.
I mean,
No,
even
some
with the
discussion
possibility
on that.
That it could be somewhere else at Mountain View. I'm just.
If
oh,
you,
that's
you know,
all
what,
I'm
if you
saying.
touch, if you
I-
touch it,
let me
you're,
make a comment
guys,
here.
go ahead.
We were told that if we touched it and moved it, then we have to do
change.
We
ADA.
gotta go.
I don't think that's true.
It's
And-
true.
And
I
that,
don't think it is
if it's
true.
not true, then that's not an issue. But if it is true,
Why move it?
I actually would vote for a smaller footprint, a 9-hole ADA mini golf there. Retain the most favorite holes that people love.
It's super expensive, guys. I mean, I did some research because I represent the club and I thought
Okay.
you need to know what you're talking about. And the information I got was for a traditional 18-hole new mini golf with ADA compliance. You're talking $40,000. For a mini golf, are you guys nuts? Even I wouldn't vote for that.
So 9
All
hole
we
would
have
be
to do,
20.
well, you could cut it down to 9, but hey, you're doing 12 new pickleball courts. Why should I give up 9 of my mini golf holes? Okay, I'm just saying, it's being I'm being silly.
Let's do the simple question then.
Do we want to have a mini golf course
Do you
there?
want- How many people want to have a mini golf course
Yeah,
at Mountain?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, it looks like that's unanimous.
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else like lawn bowling?
Oh, lawn bowling.
I'm sorry, you want to lead this?
I just made a presentation.
Okay.
I I really didn't know anything about lawn bowling, so I didn't know how I felt.
Everybody thinks it's a
Do
few
you
people
feel
are
have
like
it there
on this
already?
map.
You have a strong
So can it
opinion
just stay?
on lawn bowling at Mountain View, that you would be willing to vote?
I have a question.
I
Is
don't
the lawn bowls court at Mountain View used for when there's national events and everybody comes to town for competition?
Usually, that's used for the local bowlers who cannot bowl on the tournament ones. You
Okay,
need to back up so that you don't close out.
so it's more like Bell and places like that.
So another question. So would eliminating this lawn bowl put stress on the other lawn bowling? Because we have lawn bowling at Oakmont and Bell and Fairway
Sundown.
Yeah.
Lakeview.
And fair.
and Lakeway?
And
Yeah,
Sundown.
Lakeview.
The-
So we
the-
have-
The short answer to that is yes. You can only lawn bowl every other day. You cannot bowl every day because it's grass. And like I showed in the slide, it's second only to pickleball in usage.
I just wanted to know how many lawn bowling facilities we have. That's kind of what Susan was just asking too.
You've got 4, 5, 6, 7.
And the one at Fairway.
One at Fairway is a carpet.
Is the
Five
carpet.
locations, and 2 of them are double greens.
Yeah.
So at Bell and at Lakeview, you've got double greens, and at Oakmont and at Mountain View and Fairway, we have single greens.
Fairway needs a new carpet.
Yeah, so I just do want to say something about this. My attitude about this has been in flux a little bit. I think it's important for everybody to understand that what we have in lawn bowling right now is truly world class. It's probably the only thing that we have here in Sun City that is actually world class. The U.S. Open Association has approached Sun City and asked, would you be willing to host this forever? Because this is by far and away the best place in the United States and probably the best place in the world to lawn bowl. Okay, so Norm, you correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that in order to hold the U.S. Open, it's not because we just have to do that, but when you have a feather in your cap like that, one of the questions is, do we really want to just rip it out and say we prefer to put something else in there? ADA compliant
Norm, you
or
can pay it
whatever,
later.
So,
You've been promoted from secretary.
let me just explain what's behind that a little bit, and I'm asking Norm because I'm not a lawn bowler. But I did chair the lawn bowling committee last year, and I learned a lot. I learned a ton. One of the questions I asked was, what do you need to be able to hold a national or an international tournament like this?
Yeah.
They need 15 greens. We've got 7. But within a 6-mile radius, we have by far the most. Within a 6-mile radius, you get to 15 greens. When they hold the U.S. Open in California, the diameter of that circle is 100 miles in order to get 15 greens. So, no wonder they like it here so much. So, you can make the argument, yeah, okay, that's like 6 days in the year. Is it worth it? Lawn bowling, it's really, really expensive to maintain. There's a ton of money that goes into that, and that's why I'm a little bit, I have to confess to some ambivalence about this. I'm willing to be persuaded. But I just
Take your money back.
I just think that it's important for all of us to understand that about, that really anybody, talk to the people in Canada and they say, where's the best place in the world to lawn bowl? In Sun City, Arizona. So it's good to know.
If you want to be an active community, you just saw the presentation that I put up there. It's not only on the greens they're active elsewhere. And it is a national sport. The numbers justify it. I don't know what the discussion is.
Why did you take it out? Honestly, if in the I'm just saying, in the footprint that we're looking at, if it's an option to keep it there, why would we take it out?
Okay, so,
Good question.
well, I guess the question that was going to be asked was there anything else like the 2 things that we just voted on? It sounds to me like lawn bowling is not in that category.
So you want to
would vote on it today to make a.
Well, why not
Just
vote on
voting to
it?
keep.
Let's
Oh,
vote on
okay.
it anyway.
We're just informed,
That's
so-
right, keep or, I'm sorry, I'm only.
Well,
You're in Colorado.
I'm kind of with you, John. I'm not
Let's
quite
just
sure
vote on
where,
it.
because the tennis has been, I hate to say it, but I feel like tennis has been stomped on from the beginning.
Well, but we could do that vote next.
I know.
Susan, stop by tennis.
And additional space for not club members necessarily, club pickleball, club tennis, that's one thing, but members, I personally right now know of 2 non-tennis club members who are just picking up tennis, and they live near Mountain View, and they are doing 2 times a week, 3 times a week at 7 a.m. when it's cooler to learn tennis. And if they had to drive all the way to Bell.
All the way to Bell?
Yes. Well, no, I
Make it
really.
sound like it's
8 miles.
From
No.
New York to Minnesota.
Oh, okay, granted, that's a good point, fair point, but one of our things was diversity and having multiple things. Now, we don't have world-class tennis here, not international, US Open is not here, but tennis is still a major sport, and I think we need to have a tennis court on the southern side.
Yeah.
So whatever pickleball wants to do, I think, you know, this idea right here, wherever it came from, shows 2 tennis courts still there. I vote for 2 tennis courts. even if they have pickleball lines on them, I need 2 tennis courts. Okay, now.
I have a proposal.
Okay.
We leave lawn bowling where it is, with the understanding that if lawn bowling dies, it doesn't
Not a
become as
term
popular,
used.
it's a placeholder that it could be used in the future for something different.
Years, of course, it could come if it dies, but.
That doesn't help you, does it?
No. Well,
And
if
like
in
we
the
said, we
meantime
can't
I
have
keep 2
everything
tennis
everywhere.
courts, I think at one point we had a presentation of, in fact today, your idea was, what, 12 indoor pickleball courts?
Yes.
2 of those should be tennis courts, or at least 1 painted with pickleball.
Yep. I don't know if that's possible. I don't have the idea.
You're all over the place.
Not too long ago, but somewhere in the beginning of this committee, we listed the advantages that Sun City has that the new shining communities cannot have.
That's right.
One of those was neighborhood centers. No community is going to have neighborhood centers like we have because it's too expensive to do. So one of the selling points is you can get tennis within a couple blocks or miles away. You can get volleyball. You can get these things in a local area. And if you don't like the people at Bell, you can go to Lakeview to do the same thing. New communities cannot match that. I don't think we should ever do anything to weaken the advantage that they can't match.
But lawn bowling, can we go back to lawn bowling?
Yeah, where were we? Susan, would you moderate?
Well, what about
So
tennis?
lawn bowling
I think it should
is,
be good.
I guess the proposal is, are you in favor of leaving lawn bowling there as is? Is that the?
If we're looking for the wow factor, we need to keep the thing that is the wow, according to Karen.
Yes.
That our lawn bowling is a wow.
Okay.
So vote, girl.
Does that sway anybody?
Okay, so it seems like that is another, almost unanimous. Okay.
I'm abstaining.
Tad is abstaining, so, okay.
And what about tennis now?
All
All
right,
right, so
tennis.
now we can go there.
Okay, now tennis.
So can I
Discussion.
just ask a question here? So, you know, we're asking about all these things as individual things. And I think we've all felt like it's really hard to make this decision when you have to vote about it, because what are the consequences for the other things? So, you know, Dan made a presentation to us saying that we should, based on all the data that's available, and it's compelling, I'm just going to talk about pickleball. This morning at 6 o'clock, I took a picture of the line outside at Marinette. And then I asked Pam, who was the facility attendant, at 6:04, how many people have signed in? 45 people had signed in in the first 4 minutes that it was open this morning at 6 o'clock. Okay? So Dan makes a presentation and says we really, just looking at the data, we should be around 60 to 70 courts. He said, pickleball said we want a minimum of 45 courts. So this is a big question. You know, we can say, yeah, we want to keep lawn bowling, but are we willing to say this is really true. We have to commit to a minimum of a total of 45 courts. And you said preferably in 2 locations and not dotted around, dotted around. So in order to do that, you have to build some boundaries because there aren't a lot of ways to make that happen.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So just saying, I think that, for us to say, yes, we want this, and then, then when we get to pickleball, well, sorry, there's just no space for it. We can't do that.
Jane, can I address that?
Yeah.
We do have space, but it's not part of this project. We have a parking lot at Bell that is probably 90% vacant. Why can't some of that be turned into pickleball? It's not part of the Mountain View project, but it is a
I
project.
can tell you that when the 2021 board decided to eliminate this, and then all of a sudden they were in hot water because they were taking us from 27 down to 20 instead of from 27 to 50, which should have been happening. They said, we will find a solution for you. And they scoured, literally, they tried everything, looking for a place where can we make this happen. And the only place that they could find were the Lakeview tennis courts.
Did they not look at the Bell parking lot?
Did they not look at the 10 things that I put on my presentation?
You have to, given all the things that Dan told us, it doesn't help us to have 7 courts here. We can't do a single activity with 7 courts
But
here
that's the
and
club.
6 courts there.
That's the club, and not just membership at large.
But where in this town would you put 40 courts? Even if
We
they said,
have-
okay, we're gonna build 40,
But
where would you put them?
this is the same. Susan actually presented us with, I'm not saying that we have to build 40. We have 20 at Marinette.
Yes.
We need to get 25 additional in, and 25 would fit at Mountain View.
If you took everything else out.
No.
No, you wouldn't have.
But it does make it difficult to make it fit with the pack. I will say that. But you could leave everything else there and
Yeah.
still get 25 courts in Mountain View and accomplish that. But then what about all these other things? Well, we all already voted on this and this and this. Well, So I'm just concerned that we're approaching this from a perspective where we have to, could we as a committee, so agree to some things that are sort of non-negotiable? And I guess that would be the question. We want to start restricting ourselves so that we're just not all over the map all the time. And if we want to restrict, are there some things that we can just agree are non-negotiable? And I would say, on behalf of Dan, who's very quiet compared to me, are we willing to commit to say we need to have 45 pickleball courts separated into 2 locations? If you want to build another 10 up at Marinette, that's fine, and you don't need 25, you only need 15 at Mountain View. But I guess this is one of the things that makes it difficult for me to
jump in there.
So sorry.
Norm.
She pointed at me and he pointed at you. So go ahead, Norm.
Yeah, I'm finished. Turn it over to Norm.
Again, I'll go back to the neighborhood-centered concept that is a valuable thing for attracting people and giving satisfaction to the members. Pickleball needs more space, absolutely. They've got to get more space. The issue is, where are you going to get that space? I know it's more convenient to have it in 2 locations rather than 5 or 6, but take lawn bowling. We run national tournaments and we're spread over 7 and another 8 outside of the community in order to take care of the numbers. So you can do it. You can do both. You can satisfy the neighborhood concept and have a 3, 4, 5, 6, but here and another 5, 6 there. You do need courts. There's no argument over that. But where they go and how much impact that has on other activities, which are just as important to those people, I think that's the issue that we have to wrestle with, and it's not easy.
Can I ask you to turn to your right and ask Dan to respond to that?
Well, thanks for your opinion, Dan.
And I get my point in before the end of the response, because he's going to want to respond to mine as well. Okay, so during your presentation, Karen, you made an important point that in order to do your club things that you do, your round robins and stuff, you need a minimum of 12 courts, correct?
That is such a minimum number. But
you have more than that up at Marinette now. So if, to my point of view, if we could get at least 12 or more into Mountain View, that would give us 2 areas where you could do club events And then there are other places in Sun City where we could put a smaller grouping of pickleball courts that would be more along the line of closer to my neighborhood. I just want to go out and play a quick game rather than go up to the big concentrated areas of pickleball to get to that total that you want to get to. So we could have 2 large groups, you know, and still have room for more.
So I appreciate what you're saying, but I think you need to listen to the person who is representing.
Well, that's why I wanted to make my point before you said
We were saying we need a minimum of 4 to 5 courts in 2 locations to meet the needs.
So
why 2 locations? That's the question.
So let me just give you an example.
Why just 2?
So one of our most popular club events is a social ladder.
I found out why he's quiet.
That's all right.
So there's a social
Go
ladder.
ahead, you
that takes
represent
place.
pickleball.
You want Dan to
Okay.
speak?
So one of the issues
can
that
talk
we
about
have is that
social.
RCSC tells us that you can never monopolize all the courts because we don't have dedicated space. We have to share the space that we have as a
Yep.
club and the neighborhood. So we can never use all with the exception of a couple of days during the year when tournaments take place. Except that we always have to reserve space for non-club players. So we've got a club event that takes place, and they actually have to cap it at 48, well, they cap it at 52, because 48 people can play on 12 courts, and that's the maximum that they can do, because there are still 8 courts left over for non-club members, okay? So if you put a place that has 12 courts there, you can no longer run a 12-court club event there.
Okay, so question on that. Why, so you're not allowed to use all 12 court, even though there's other pickleball
No,
available in
and
the community?
That's the reason why at Mountain View, very, very few club events can take place, because with 7 courts, if you have to reserve 2 of them for
We
non-club
have to
members,
leave
you're-
two available at all times
Yeah,
for
so
RCSC card
you're
holders.
stuck with just.
So now we're down to
down
us
to
using 5 courts.
5 courts, so you have an event that is limited to only being able to have 5 people. So that's what's behind saying that I mean, pickleball
So
people
I-
are telling you, everybody who plays
So
pickleball
I
will
think-
tell you, we would much prefer to have the courts in 2 locations with lots of courts than
Club.
the other way around. So,
But having RCSC,
It's the club.
Elsa just said the Mountain View pool can only be used with the Aqua Fitness for a certain period of time,
Yeah, they're granting on that.
exclusively.
They could
So
why can't
if they can use it for 2 hours exclusively, why can't RCSC allow you to use that pickleball court 3 hours exclusively?
so I
I think it's a management
Looking for
issue.
Chris Herring to
Okay,
answer that.
So
Yeah.
I will tell you this, so this is, a lot of progress has been made, because it used to be that club events were limited to Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it was just jammed because of that, just absolutely jammed, okay? Over time, so within the last 12 months, they extended it to 3 o'clock.
And I had to
then-
fight tooth and nail to get
And
that.
then they extended it to 5 o'clock, and then they added even Saturday morning, because they were realizing there aren't
Yeah.
that many non-club people clamoring to play.
Well, maybe you need a different team of support.
You know,
Walking in as one person, I would say go away
you
too.
get into tournaments or club tournaments
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't know what the problem is with pickleball. You guys must have really ticked somebody off. Because we fill the greens for tournaments, but we leave one green open. You want to go just bowl and have fun, you know, that green is open for you. We never close out our club members, but we do have the right, we've been doing it for years, to use whatever tournament, whatever greens we need to use it, as long as we have one green. Now, they may have to go to a different center, but, you know, get over it. You can still go long bowl. I don't know why the same thing wouldn't apply to pickleball.
The lap pool swimmers monopolize the bell pool for a certain period of time.
I'm saying, why couldn't you monopolize one whole center and leave the other
Yeah.
area
Well,
for other
so
people to use?
that's what happens, that 2 times a year when there's a tournament, so that's 3 days in
Yeah.
spring and 3 days in the fall, that it used to be we could only use 18 of the 20 courts at Marinette, and now they allow us to use actually all 20 of them on those 3 days, twice a year.
Who is they?
The
Pardon?
Who is
RCSC.
they?
RCSC,
The directors.
but Mountain View. well,
What's your
no.
title?
The club.
Who makes the rules?
I don't understand this.
But
Chris, can you help me here?
in the tournament, you want a place to go, you have to, you know, go down to Mountain View on those days. But if you started doing that, like, how many hours a week would
So
you
you're saying
do
you
this
don't
where
do
you
things
would-
only two hours, 2 days a week?
If you had an
Use it for
indoor
large amounts
facility,
of time.
If we had an indoor facility, that place would be, we would have to have a reservation system.
and, okay, if you have an indoor facility and you did it in the morning,
Yep.
there is, it's indoors, it's climate controlled. If somebody just off the street wants to go play pickleball in the afternoon, they got the perfect place to go. They can't complain about the heat. It's there for them. There's 12 courts there.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I get a question.
You know what,
If I could just-
there's a lot of people
if I
that
could
have
interject
nothing to do with
just a second.
pickleball and no understanding of it that are trying to explain, telling pickleball people what they should want instead of what they actually want. And
If I could just interject
that's problematic.
something. So what we, I think we started was our strong preferences for retaining, recognizing that as we move forward, things will bump into one another. People's wants and needs will bump into one another. And this is a point in time where you're saying, okay, I would much rather not discuss this particular item at this point in time and focus on another item. And as I understand
I
it.
think we should vote.
I think we should
I mean, just
During the meeting, that's the vote. During the meeting.
And I just noticed that it's hard before, so I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our recreation center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic